Welcome to the Homeschool with Moxie podcast, where our goal is to inspire and encourage you with actionable strategies to take you from overwhelmed to confident in your homeschool adventure. I'm your host, Abby Banks, and this is episode number 82. This episode is brought to you by my free online workshop, 10 Truths to Crush Homeschool Burnout. Whether you're just starting out or you've been at it for a while, you need to know these real life truths to get yourself and your expectations in line when you're homeschooling. Don't we know that burnout is such a common problem? So whether you're already in a season of burnout or you just want to prevent it, definitely check out this workshop at foronmore.com/burnout. Welcome to episode number 82. Today we're going to chat about the 5 best things about homeschooling kindergarten. You can find links to everything we talk about and resources if you go to foronmore.com/82, and that's where you will find the show notes for this episode. So let's jump right in to the 5 best things about homeschooling kindergarten. Number 1, your kids can play. They can actually be kids. I think this is amazing. When your kids are 5 years old, they're not ready to sit at a desk for even 5 hours or 7 hours. They're not ready to be in a classroom from 8:30 till 2:30 every day. Even if they have little breaks and they have recess, that's kind of ridiculous. A lot of kids at this age don't have the fine motor skills to be able to do a lot of writing. They're not necessarily reading yet. I mean, what they need to accomplish academically, you could get done with 30 minutes of direct working with them a day, maybe up to an hour. The rest of their life can be play. I find that we tend to minimize the benefits of play. I'm not talking about sitting them in front of video games to play those all day. I'm talking about actual imaginative play where they're playing outside, they're playing with toys, open-ended toys that allow them to have an imagination and creativity, or building with things, or lining up the stuffed animals or the cars or the dolls. Like, there are so many benefits for kids having a childhood where they learn to play. Sometimes our kids need to learn to be bored, and then they figure out things to keep them busy and to play. It's amazing what kids will do if you just send them outside with some sticks and mud and dirt. It's a beautiful thing. And one of the greatest things about homeschooling, especially when my 4 boys were all little together, was just kind of, doing what we needed to do and then sending them out in the backyard for pretty much the rest of the day to get dirty, sweaty, and just to play. And I think this is a beautiful thing about homeschooling kindergarten. You don't have to send your 5-year-old off to be exhausted and made to sit in a desk and write and listen all day long. They're not at an age where they're actually capable of that kind of attention span. And so what happens in a kindergarten classroom is a lot of busy work and a lot of stuff just meant to keep you busy, to look like you're learning stuff all day, but you're really not. You can boil down what is learned in a kindergarten classroom. You can boil that down to 20 to 30 minutes of direct instruction with your child at home. So don't ever think, okay, I need to send my child off. The professionals need to do kindergarten. I think kindergarten is one of the easiest, most gentle and enjoyable grades you can homeschool at home and have your kids at home learning, because of this point, your kids can be kids and they can play. Okay, point number 2 goes right along with point number 1, but the next best thing about homeschooling kindergarten, I would say, is that the formal lessons are short. I've already mentioned that it might only take you 20 or 30 minutes a day of direct instruction in kindergarten. What are your children learning in kindergarten? Obviously, they're learning math, they're getting a math foundation, and you're really only going to teach them one concept a day and review concepts, right? So that's not going to take that long. And then they're learning how to read, they're learning phonics, they're learning their language skills, they're learning how to read. And like I said, some of the kids are not ready to start writing in kindergarten. And when we frustrate them by expecting a kindergartner to fill out reams of worksheets, some of them don't even have the fine motor skills that are needed yet for handwriting. So take it little by little. Let them work on their letter sounds. Let them learn how to put letters together and how phonics works. And this kind of instruction as well is not going to take that long. If you have a really attentive child, you might spend an hour a day on kindergarten. But for the kids who, they just want to play, I think that's a great thing. And I think you can do 30 minutes consistent instruction every day is going to get them there. And so think about that. What are your foundations? Your foundations are math and language arts in kindergarten. Of course, you can add in science and history, but this doesn't have to be sitting down and paying attention to an hour of a teacher doing a lesson of history. History is visiting historical sites. Science is going outside on a nature walk and exploring the world around them. History is reading a really interesting book about the Middle Ages or the Civil War, or what it was like to live back during the Revolutionary War period. I mean, there are so many engaging ways to teach our kids history and science that is not sitting in a classroom, sitting at a desk all day. So the second best thing about homeschooling kindergarten is that formal lessons are short. If you think homeschooling kindergarten means sitting down from 8:30 to 2:30 and completing tons of work, then you've really got some crazy expectations. And most 5-year-olds are not going to be able to handle that. So just realize formal lessons are short. And this is the awesome thing about homeschooling kindergarten, is that it can fit around your life, because you're not spending all day homeschooling. You're actually just living your life. So if your oldest is going to be in kindergarten and you've got toddlers and babies, you can totally make it work, because it's not going to take you all day. All right, point number 3, I better look at my notes because I almost steal my thunder on every point. I just ended with this, but point number 3, what are the best things about homeschooling kindergarten? I would say that you can fit school around your real life. And this is what I was just mentioning about, especially if you have babies and toddlers and you're in this mothering young family stage, you can homeschool kindergarten quite easily. When we started our oldest and we started homeschooling kindergarten with him, I have to think back. I also had a 4-year-old. I also had a probably 2.5-year-old and then a baby. So he would have been, about 5 months old. So there was a lot of hands-on mothering at that stage. I had the baby and we had nap times, and we had just little kids, and they were all boys. So kindergarten could not take me 6 hours a day. It had to fit in around my real life. I still had to bring all the kids shopping with me. We didn't have grocery pickup back then. This was almost 18. Well, no, okay. Sorry. My oldest is about to be 18. It was not 18 years ago. It was 13 years ago. And so, I had to take the kids shopping, and, we had normal life and we had routines and we had errands to do. So the homeschooling of kindergarten had to fit in around our life, and it totally did. And so you can also include the younger kids on what you're doing. If you're doing a nature walk with your kindergartner, of course you take the whole family and you put the baby in the stroller and you do the walk. And you're doing this for the nature walk and exposure for your older child, but the younger kids are learning as well. So it can fit into your real life. You can have multiple ages and still homeschool kindergarten. And that's the beauty of homeschooling kindergarten. You're also with your child during the best parts of their day. You're not getting them back at 3 p.m. when they're cranky and tired. You're actually with them during the best parts of their day. So it actually makes for a more enjoyable family routine and family life. Okay, here we are on point number 4. The fourth best thing about homeschooling kindergarten is that you know your child best and you are your child's best teacher. I know so many of us are told that only the professionals can do the educating. We're told that teaching your kids how to read is so incredibly difficult that only someone who's been to college and has an elementary education degree can even hope to teach your 5-year-old how to read. This is complete and utter nonsense. Until the formal schooling of our modern era in America, how did everyone learn how to read? Of course they learned because their parents taught them. The American colonists were educated and literate. They didn't need formal schooling to get this done. And I don't want you to buy into the myth that only a professional, air quotes here, can teach your child how to read or write or math or any of these things. You know your child best, and you are your child's best teacher. Even if you have a child with learning struggles, dyslexia, learning challenges, do you think a teacher who doesn't know your child will be able to accommodate them better in a classroom? Or do you think you, as the parent who have the freedom and flexibility to tailor this education to your child's unique learning struggles, also their unique learning strengths, who do you think is in a better position? Definitely not the classroom teacher. You guys, I was a classroom teacher at the middle school level. And even there, back in the day, I mean, we had kids with learning struggles put in our social studies class of 30, and we were told, they have an IEP and they need all these accommodations, and I'm struggling to fit that in as well as teach the bulk of the other class. I'm going to tell you, this is not a perfect system. Teachers are human. It is very difficult to teach a class of 30 middle schoolers and accommodate all these different learning styles and all the learning struggles and all the needs. It is super difficult. I can only imagine what it's like at an elementary level with kids who are learning how to read, and they're all at different stages. No one's learning at the same pace, right? Some kids are way far ahead and they're super bored. Some kids are struggling and they shouldn't be pushed right along with the class. Some kids are right in the middle. Everyone is different. And so I want you to realize that you know your child best and you are your child's best teacher. You've taught them all the way up to this point, haven't you? Did you go ahead and, have a professional come in and teach them how to walk or teach them how to get dressed or teach them how to, tie their shoes or whatever it is? No, we teach them as parents because it's just natural. It's part of being in a family. And I want you to realize that homeschooling kindergarten is just an extension of parenting. Don't get intimidated by it. You know your child best. And that's why I think it's awesome to homeschool kindergarten. All right, here's the fifth reason I think that homeschooling kindergarten is just amazing. It's because learning can be enjoyable. When you are able to see your child and see the light bulb come off in their head and just see them learn skills and learn new things, it's a very enjoyable process. And this is why homeschooling is beautiful, when it's a natural and gentle and normal approach to learning. When we take our child's passions and we run with them, when we let their natural curiosity that they do have as kids, when we let it just blossom instead of squashing that curiosity and saying, no, you're going to sit at a desk all day, fill out mind-numbing worksheets. No, we let our kids learn with their hands and experience things and go out in nature and read beautiful stories. We let them love learning. And it's such an enjoyable thing to do as a family, and it's enjoyable to do with your kindergartner. So I think that is an awesome part about homeschooling kindergarten is that learning can truly be enjoyable. All right, we hit our 5 items that I wanted to talk about, but I thought of a bonus item. So here's your bonus for today. One of the best things about homeschooling kindergarten is the future outlook. Because if you homeschool kindergarten, you're going to gain confidence for continuing on with homeschool. So you're going to have more confidence if you start with homeschooling kindergarten. You're going to have more confidence to keep going rather than a mom who's pulling out an 8th grader for the first time and trying to homeschool an 8th grader. That's going to be a little bumpier because you've been in public school and now you've got to decompress from that. Now you've got to figure out how does homeschooling work, and you're starting with someone who's all the way in 8th grade. That's a little trickier. Can certainly be done, but it has its unique challenges. However, if you start out with a kindergartner and you're homeschooling without ever sending them off to school, you're just starting with them at home. This is going to give you the confidence as you grow with your child. I love to compare it to parenting all the time. Now, in the case of an adoption, you might get a child that's in 8th grade and then as your first child, and you might become a parent of a teenager for the very first time. That's going to be much more challenging than if you're given a newborn, if you adopt a newborn, or you birth a newborn. When you come home from the hospital with your newborn, You do not need to know how to parent a teenager. You're going to grow with that child. You don't even need to know how to potty train at that point. You don't even need to know how to parent a 2-year-old. You just need to parent a newborn. And don't you learn as you go? If you have more than one child, you are much more confident when you have your second or third or fourth baby because you've done it before. And homeschooling is going to be the very same way. Once you start out homeschooling kindergarten, you're going to think, oh, that wasn't so bad. Maybe I could do first grade. And you will do it and you'll realize, oh, I just homeschooled first grade. I think I could probably do second grade. And it's going to grow and grow and grow. Your confidence is going to grow and you're going to realize that you are growing in your ability and in your, ability to be a home educator. So I think it's a beautiful thing to start with kindergarten and just grow with your child. That's one of the best things about homeschooling is that you're going to be amazed at your own professional development, your own growth as a human being and your ability to learn new things. And it's such a fun experience to learn right along with your kids. So there you have it. There are the 5 best things plus bonus about homeschooling kindergarten. If you're considering it, I hope this encourages you to just jump in. You can do this. And I want you to go ahead and make sure you watch that workshop I mentioned at the beginning of 10 truths to crush homeschool burnout. You might not be homeschooling right now. You might not have burnout right now, but it'll help prevent that future burnout if you get started with the right mindset and the correct expectations. So you can find that workshop at 41more.com/burnout. And I will also link to a bunch of helpful resources for you in the show notes at 41more.com/82. Thanks for joining me today. I'd love it if you could leave a review or rating on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you're listening to this podcast. Go ahead and leave that rating or review so other homeschool moms can be encouraged and find this podcast as well. Thanks again for listening. And in the meantime, happy homeschooling.